this book was not what I expected. Hello fellow bookters, this is Gabby and today we are talking about The Last of the Talons by Sophie Kim. So this book I kindly got an article from NetGalley so I could talk to you about it a bit early. I believe it's coming out in 2 or 3 days, check that out. But it was a East Asian / Korean fantasy, like YA, but having read it I think it's more like it doesn't give YA vibes to me. I feel like this could be adult or new adult at least. And you know, I've been loving East Asian fantasy so much lately that I was like, okay, I think I love this book, so I need to get it and I need to request it, and I got accepted, so we can talk about it. Firstly, as usual, let me start with synopsis and then we'll get into the details. Last of the Talons, we follow a girl called Lena. I want to say Shin Lena. We follow an 18-year-old Shin Lena who is an assassin. She's the Reaper of Sun Po, and she is known to be super badass, of course. And she was a part of this gang called the Talons. But a year ago they were killed by a different warring gang, and now Shin Lena is forced to work for the boss of that gang because he has her younger sister as collateral, and she is forced to kind of do all of these tasks for him and be his assassin basically. One day he asks her to steal a tapestry. She steals the tapestry, rips it apart for the jewels in it, sells the jewels, and then that same night the Pied Piper, which is a goblin king, goblin emperor, comes and kidnaps her boss, kidnaps her and says, you have 14 days to kill me or I will kill you. And that's kind of the bargain she's in. She's got, I think it's for 14 days. I'm pretty sure it's 14 days. But she's got a very short amount of time to kill this Goblin King who is near indestructible. So that's going to be fun for her. So that's the synopsis. Let's get into details. As per usual, you can skip around and, you know, get to the section you like. But let's start with writing. I enjoyed the writing. I thought it was good. It wasn't overtly purple. It wasn't overly descriptive. I think something I really like in East Asian books I've read and I've loved was the writing style, which was a little bit more embellished, a little bit more fairy tale-like, a little bit more, you know, oomph and beauty to it and like descriptions. So maybe I was missing that a little bit. It didn't bother me entirely, but I think maybe that's why I had a bit of a harder time getting into this book. In this beginning, I was a bit like, let's get on, I'm not so bothered. By the end, the writing was good. I had nothing against it, and I think it served the purpose fine. So no complaints for me, although I just complained, but whatever. Then plot. I said this book surprised me, and that's true. I don't know, having seen the cover and read the synopsis, I didn't expect this to be essentially a paranormal romance. And maybe that's not fair, but I'm not saying it as a bad thing. I'm just saying the romance is like a very prominent part of this. I feel like the adventure of like the trying to do the task is kind of the background thing. That I would call that plot C. Then plot B is Shin Lena trying to overcome her trauma and growing as a person, which was really great to see. And plot A maybe is the romance, or you know, plot A and B maybe could be interchanged, but the romance is a really big part, and it's kind of like, you know, this bad emperor who's got all this power and he's a paranormal creature, a goblin. I don't know if you've ever seen the K-drama Goblin, but it's that kind of goblin, a hot goblin. Not like a gross thing with like tiny little thing with like gross stuff on his face. Like, he's a hot goblin. So you've got all of that, and there's this really nice magical world around it, but really I do feel like this is kind of a paranormal romance at the core of it, and also a really big personal development story. So those two things I feel like often coexist in paranormal romance. I don't know, like the heroine trying to find herself after something traumatic or whatever happened in her life. And overall, like, I would describe this book as Court of Thorns and Roses, with Selena from Front of Glass being the main character. Initially, I did not like Lena, and I just found her grating because she reminded me of Selena so much. And I hate Selena from Throne of Glass. I don't like that series in general, but I found her infuriating, so cocky, just so much better than everyone else, so much more of a like badass assassin. Nothing can ever touch me. I'm so good. I like just look at men and they drop dead. You know, that's the vibe I got in the beginning. So I was like reluctantly reading this book. I was like, okay, I'm bored and this is slow. Once the romance started coming around, I was sold. The chemistry between the main characters was just palpable. It was so good, so well done. I just felt like, oh, they're not gonna, that's how I felt about this. It was just so goddamn good. I really had a great time with that side of the plot, and also then Lena grew on me, and the whole plot grew on me, and I found it really interesting. Actually, this world is super interesting as well. I don't feel like that much explanations were done or like that much world building, but enough to really suck me and really make me want to read the sequel. It was really good. Overall, like I would say, if you're fan of Court of Thorns and Roses or Throne of Glass, you're a fan of Sarah J Maas, but you want to read something new, something fresh from a different culture with different cultural influences from a Korean author, I would highly recommend, because I think you will really enjoy this book. Because that's what is essentially, I feel like it's a Court of Thorns and Roses, probably better written, with a very compelling romance that's not so problematic, and a good time overall. Now, characters. I feel like I already said it about Lena. I didn't particularly like her in the beginning. She really grew on me, and I really saw her develop as a character and you know, become a little bit more approachable and all of that. I think it just initially I was a little bit burned by how amazing and so much better than every other assassin there is, and like she is, and it's just like she was put on such a pedestal that it felt a little bit, I didn't see proof. I think that's what also my issue with Selena was. I think when I initially like made a review about it like ages ago, I just feel like it's talked about how amazing she is. It's like no one ever, she never shuts up about it in her head, and everyone never shuts up about it. But she's never really done anything on page, at least in the beginning, to really show us. So it's just like, yeah, she's a super badass assassin that's never been touched, and no one ever will break her down. But actually they did, and now she's in like a servitude anyway. And then like, we never see how amazing she is. We do see it later, I would say that. Towards the latter half of the book, I was like, oh, okay, so this is why she's so respected. I feel like maybe we should have opened with that, like a scene of her like actually taking down some people and actually being amazing, because I've been told how amazing she is for too long for me not to get annoyed. But well, it is what it is. Then Rui is the Goblin Emperor. I love him. I love his character. I love how he developed as a character. I love that he also has flaws and traumas and how they work together on it. I love it all together. It's beautiful. I think one thing that maybe is missing from like a point of view, if you're seeing this kind of like a Sarah J Maas thing, type of romance, is the friendship group, because there is a friendship group that could be a friendship group, but they're not really bonded with Lena so far at all. But I guess that didn't happen in the Court of Thorns and Roses till way later in the books anyway, so that's fine. But I would love to see that a little bit more like friendship, so that she has other people, you know, to kind of bond with. There was an element of that, but then it kind of imploded, so we couldn't really actually see her have nice friends and supportive friends. But overall, the characters were done well. I think they both worked together well. They had a really good chemistry, really palpable sexual tension, and I really want this to be an adult book, because I feel like we could take it places. The places have not been tooketh yet. So if you don't like reading that, don't worry, you can still pick it up. It's YA as far as Goodreads tells me. But I feel like it has potential, and I feel like it could be really good as like an adult or new adult kind of series with a bit more. It already has so many, I guess we can jump into themes. It already has so many adult themes, like loss, grief, guilt, moving on after loss, guilt, grief. Such a profound, important theme both for Alina and Rui. So that's already there, so it's already quite adult things to talk about. And then addiction as well. I was kind of like baffled by how big of a thing addiction was in this book, because it was addiction to cigarettes. I'm not saying cigarettes aren't addictive, but it was really taken to like she's snorting cocaine levels of like drama. But I've never smoked, so I also cannot say whether it's accurate or not. And maybe it is, and maybe the author is an ex-smoker herself. So, you know, who am I to judge? But yeah, those were all very, like, adult very well done, very well explored themes. So I feel like those are pretty adult themes anyway. And like, I don't know, nothing about this felt YA to me, so maybe Goodreads is just lying to me. I would say this felt more adult, again, maybe new adult, with how rich the themes were, how rich the characters were, how palpable like the chemistry and sexual tension was. I feel like that was all done. So I don't know, if you know, let me know in the comments what kind of genre this book is. But I really loved it. I gave it 4 stars. I think it was a really solid writing. Maybe pacing could have been done a little different. Like I said, prove to me in the beginning that she's badass if you're gonna tell me she's a badass. That was like my one note. But again, I think if you're a Court of Thorns and Roses, Sarah J Maas, paranormal romance fan, you should definitely pick this up. The cover does not give me vibes of that kind of book at all, so I was surprised when I was reading what I was reading, and maybe it's just me and maybe I'm misreading what I'm reading, but that's the vibe I got anyway. So if you enjoy that kind of romance, pick it up. I really liked it. I thought the chemistry again worked so well, and I'm definitely picking up the sequel because it was done really well. But let me know, have you read the Last of Talons? I really hope you enjoyed it if you did, and let me know if it convinced you to read it. But that's it from me. If you could comment, like, and subscribe, I really, really appreciate it. It really helps me out. But that's it from me, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!